Single time. Hello, everybody. It's great to have you all here. My name is Dan Roberts. I am the Executive Director at CircEsteem. It is my honor to welcome you to tonight's episode of Behind the Big Top. We have a really special webinar for you tonight. We have some folks who were around at CircEsteem in the beginning of my journey with CircEsteem years and years ago. Doug and Prado, Paul and Jack, they're going to bring you a great night. Before I introduce Doug, I want to share with you a little bit about CircEsteem. Our mission is to unite youth across all backgrounds and identities by fostering self-esteem and mutual respect through the practice and performance of circus arts. CircEsteem works all across Chicago. When we're not in the middle of a global pandemic, CircEsteem works all across Chicago, offering after-school and weekend programs for around 1,500 regularly enrolled youth each year. We have made some changes during the shutdowns, and one of the exciting things that we get to do now is we get to produce these Behind the Big Tops, where we bring folks in the circus community, folks in the CircEsteem community. We bring them on here, and we get an opportunity to share with them about it. Without further ado, I will pass it off to our host for the evening, Mr. Douglas Grew.
Hey, thanks so much, Dan.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I want to thank everyone who's joining us live and those who will see this later. As we record it. Anyway, as Dan said, it's a special night. The theme is sort of CircEsteem has launching pad, stepping stone, springboard. So what we've done is we've brought some folks who were here in the beginning back to talk about life after CircEsteem. And this is really a labor of love, because these are all people who were important to me, and I think we were all important to each other. So first we have a former coach and who is now a professional circus performer and filmmaker and scuba diver. Please welcome Paul Lopez. Paul, you can go ahead. There's his handsome face. We also have, people who go to CircEsteem and they go on and they get degrees. And that's what we're interested in, degrees, PhDs, all sorts of stuff. Please welcome Jack Gomberg. Come on out, Jack. Yay, say hey. And then finally we have Prado Keme, who's also still does circus, but is getting a degree in engineering. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's really great to see all three of you, because it brings back a lot of memories from like before 2005. So that's the theme. And if we can, I'd like to gear tonight's discussion, if you can imagine a youth who is at CircEsteem right now. Maybe it's a high school senior, high school junior who's, thinking about college or career or this and that, or maybe it's someone younger, 4th or 5th grade. Maybe it is, like Joyce and Dorcas, I should say, because we're happy we still have Kemi. So this is really for them, but it's also for us to reminisce too about the early days. And so for those of you in the audience, and again, this is really for friends and family, the CircEsteem community, but if you're not a part of that, then, we're going to give you a little bit of background. But this is sort of a celebration of what CircEsteem does, not just bringing youth together, but then hopefully arming them or inspiring them for successful careers, no matter what they do. We're a social circus, so we're not in the business of turning out circus professionals. That happens great, but we are hopefully in the business of, sending people out to change the world for the better. So I guess in no particular order, we'll start with the former coach, Paul Lopez. I think we've got some video that we can show about Paul. Okay, so of course this is Absinthe in Las Vegas at Caesar's Palace.
It is, yes.
Yes, this is Distinguished Gentleman of the Wire.
Actually, we're the frat pack, just for the record.
Okay, thank you, Paul. And that's Paul in the back.
Playing Fat Frank in that show.
Yeah, Fat Frank, that's the name of the character. Also, this is a funny tie-in because our first webinar we did oh my gosh, I think a month ago in quarantine time was Liliana Walenda, who was also a part of this act. So
That is true.
uh,
And our coach.
yeah, the coach of the act, yeah. So Paul Lopez went to Del Arte, came to Chicago to be part of the Chicago Center for the Performing Arts, or the Roosevelt University Theater Conservatoire, where he studied with Adrian Danzig, and during that time got involved with CircEsteem as a coach. So part of why I loved having Paul here is not only was he a great coach, but it's a great success story. Still to this day, we may have a 21, 22, 23-year-old coach who's just getting into circus here, and their time at CircEsteem can be like really important for their further circus career. And I think Paul Lopez is sort of my favorite example of that. Anything you want to add to your bio?
No, just that I started CircEsteem, while I was at Roosevelt as a college student. I got told to go over there and hang out, and it was a very small organization. Then I went to Del Arte for graduate school, and when I came back, things had grown. We had a new cast of characters. The number of teachers and friends of ours now, professionals, non-professionals, who've been through that program teaching blending was one of the most profound things about that organization, is that there's a bunch of people who've done a tenure at CircEsteem, and part of the importance of it to me was I was able to take leave and go work and do contracts, and then come back, and then it wasn't, and then I'd maybe have learned a new skill or brought a new culture. So then I became a more fresh teacher almost. So in a way, it was a reciprocal relationship, and I'm very proud of that, because that allowed me to have a professional career as a performer and then grow in that artistic sense, but also come back and develop, relationships with these young artists and help their lives, the good and the bad, and nurture my own soul too. So that's just what I wanted to say regarding the bio.
No, thank you. Reciprocal. That was a perfect word, because, we're still trying to do that in this quarantine time. CircEsteem is actively trying to take care of all its employees. Next, I'm going to jump over to Prado. Prado, you were so young when I can't even remember your age. How old were you when you first came to CircEsteem?
I started CircEsteem when I was 6 years old.
That's what I thought.
Yes.
All right. So then I'll go with the bio. 6 years old. You had an older sister and an older brother who were already involved. You came in, and then from 6 until you graduated from high school, you did CircEsteem. Prado has also worked a lot with CircExperience. We want to give a big shout out to Wolfgang Beetzel, CircExperience, a sister organization here in Chicago. And through that, you went to USA Wheeled Gymnastics. You performed a lot for CircEsteem. I think we have a video clip of you doing a TED Talk that, Sam Sake took 4 kids down to Cincinnati to do this TED Talk, and with performing. So here we go. And Prado, if there's anything you want to say about it, you can talk over it. Go ahead, Joe. We can hit play. Everyone should recognize those blue and yellow mats.
Yeah, it was a fun experience doing the TED Talk in Cincinnati. Just met a lot of cool people there, and then just performing in front of a great audience. It was just a good experience overall. Yeah.
That was fun. I remember how you
spot me out.
That was great to see you tumble there. In a second, we're going to have you. You're going to see in this clip that you juggle. You were already doing 5 rings. Do you remember how old you were in this clip?
I believe I was 16 years old, 16 or 17 years old. So.
Right, so that was the middle. All right, here we go. 5 rings. Wow. All right. And anyway, so now you're still involved in circus, right? And you are getting, or you just got your degree in engineering?
I am still in the process of getting my degree in engineering. I took the semester off to do an internship, so I'll plan on going back to school in the fall. So I'm looking forward to that and graduating in December.
Wow. That's awesome. All right, and finally, the last introduction, and then we can jump into the discussion, and you won't see so much of me because I hope the 3 of you will really have at it. But so Jack Gomberg, how old were you exactly when you?
I think I was 5 years old.
Yeah,
Although I started in the after school program and then went to like Saturday classes around the same
that's
time.
right. Yeah. No, I remember when you were a wee little kid and you always liked clowning.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Big fan. I remember, I think I did Dead or Alive like 100 times.
And which version? We're still arguing about, I think you did the version where they get rid of the slapstick, no.
Oh, I didn't even know there were different versions. I think
Well, there's a CircEsteem version, and then anyway,
I'm behind. Yeah.
I'm trying not to get too, what do you call it? Not in, but too internal here with CircEsteem history and keep it for a broad audience. But yes, that's for another day. And so then, and you stayed with CircEsteem until you finished high school.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, and then where did your journey? I know that like Prado, you went to ISU, so you went to a college that had a circus program. Whereas Jack, you went to a place that didn't have a circus program, but then you started one on campus.
Yeah, so I went to Pomona College, which is in Los Angeles, California. There was no circus program whatsoever, but I knew I really loved doing circus arts. I knew it was a phenomenal way to kind of build community. So I knew that was a must for me for my college experience. And actually with the help of a bunch of people from CircEsteem and a bunch of people like alumni who had gone on to create some sort of circus programs in their own universities, I got a lot of help in building what would become my own circus club at college. And it's still running today, 2 years after I graduated.
That's great. And then tell us about this. You just published a paper that I'm not sure how many people know about it in the CircEsteem community. I mean, it was shared on our website, but just for me, generally in the circus community, in the social circus community, man, your paper was like all over. It generated, and you got a PhD for doing this. So tell us a bit about that, and then we'll go on.
Just minor correct. Did not get a PhD at all.
I just gave you one. I just gave.
I'll take it. I mean, that's an easy like 7 years of my life that I could get. No, but I did, however, get awarded a Fulbright Scholarship, which was a huge honor. That was the first year out of college. Basically, I got the opportunity to travel to Israel and study a paramedical practice called medical clowning, which I'm not sure how many people are familiar with, but a quick explanation. They take circus performers and utilize them in a hospital setting to kind of ameliorate kind of the inherently stressful environment of a hospital with the stuff that we all know and love, clowning, juggling, magic performances. And so I researched that and published a paper on my findings. And yeah, it just came out in March. So I'm very excited.
No, and it's a great paper. And actually, I think we have a few still photos of some of the hospital work. And I understand that a lot of it is hard to document because of, rights and permissions or this and that. But maybe we could click up on those photos and you could tell us a little bit more about the work. Hopefully
this is actually my mentor. He does have a PhD in medical clowning. He's a professor at Tel Hai University. His name is Amnon Raviv. He's kind of one of the highest profile medical clowning researchers. And I reached out to him once I got this scholarship saying, hey, will you take me under your wing? And he was a phenomenal mentor. He is also a medical clown. So he both researches the field and he participates in it. And then here are a couple other clowns that I shadowed in my time, just kind of connecting with patients.
Wow. All right. So now I hope the audience can see why I'm so excited. Here are three people who I was in the room with in probably 2004, 2003. In circus, we say down the road is real. And that's what we're proving tonight, because here we are down the road talking about this business. And just a funny little side note, our current executive director, one of the ways the way they were brought to CircEsteem was through Paul Lopez. So who is here, who told him about it. So that's great. So what I want to start with again is going back to this notion of what in your CircEsteem experience was a stepping stone or a launching pad? What was something that you got out of CircEsteem that took with you and took you where you ended up going? And feel free, this is Zoom, turn on your mics and talk over each other. I'm going to be quiet.
I can start because I'm the oldest. And I remember these kiddos when they were our circus babies. But yeah, there was an emphasis on us trying to access not a quick turnaround for the results of producing better, greater circus artists, but to get kids to feel the benefit of learning how to juggle quickly. So even if it was just 3 scarves, if I could get you to juggle 3 scarves in a day, then I would see the smiles on these kids. So that ability to kind of to actually organize how to teach juggling in 10 minutes to 100 kids over in 4 hours, you know, or over an hour with 4 different chunks at a high school or a middle school, and the ability to kind of look at the skill set, communicate it, so that the kids can experience that amazing moment of, I did it, ta-da, you know. So to me, understanding circus has multiple benefits, not just to be an artist, not just to be a performer and receive it, but, you know, it's a metaphor for everything, right? Like everybody walks on a wire at some point in their life, you know, and the analogies are just infinite. So yeah, you know, you got to drop 100 balls before you can juggle 3 together, you know. So you're looking at the drops more than you're looking at the catches. And in life, we got to look at, sometimes this time period we're in, I got to look at, hey, we're in quarantine, but what's the opportunity there, as opposed to, oh, it's over, no more circus. You know, it's very easy to forget that there's a lot of drops along the road. And my career specifically is full of dropping, you know, missing opportunities, you know. So I think, yeah, taking away that the ability to use circus through social means and to teach it allows you to understand part of what you love about it, but then how you can love it through somebody else. And that, to me, like, I'm gonna cry on that one because it's so profound, you know. So that's what I would say I took away from CircEsteem specifically.
For me, what I took away was pretty much just what I loved about CircEsteem was being able to go to a space and just be able to have fun, just be who you are, and not just do it, whatever you want, learn different skills, try new things that you never tried before. And that really helped me, just like in my life, just because I can go anywhere I want and just be myself and just have fun and not live life super tensed up. Just remember to always be relaxed, and like there's always more. There's more to life than just being super, you know, focused on like the next big thing. There's just a lot of small milestones that are also important. So that's one of the biggest takeaways from CircEsteem that I had. And just a great space to just work, just see my friends and just learn new things. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely on that last point. Just it really is an incredible place. I don't think I've ever interacted with any sort of organization, yes, but also like hobby that promotes this level of trust and community. And I think that's a really wonderful thing and a very powerful force that can be used for good and social change in more ways than may initially seem.
Yeah, that's great. Are there any stories that you want to share that you take with you? I mean, I sort of have, I have stories for all 3 of you, but I mean, just for yourself personally, that would illustrate that, something you were like, wow, I really remember this and I learned that, you know.
I'll tell you something that came actually when I was watching Prado juggling those rings. I have no idea how this flashback. I have not remembered this in years. But I specifically remember like when I was 7 years old, I think I was showing Dan actually, like that I could move my body through a single juggling hoop, which was easy because I was like tiny, like 2 feet maybe. And then I had been putting off juggling over and over and over. Prado was already at like 4 balls or something, and I couldn't do 3 at all. And Dan was like, that's great, but I know you've been putting off learning to actually juggle. You're not allowed to do that trick until you learn how to actually juggle for real. And he like partnered me with, I think, Prado and Donald. And basically I just worked with you guys until I could actually juggle. And it took a long time. But it kind of was that dedication and that relationship that let me kind of break through what initially was something I was very resistant to. I don't know why, but I really did not want to learn how to juggle.
Yeah, well, the whole experience of CircEsteem, I mean, it's in the name, was to put kids through that experience. Like that, that's the magic sauce right there. That's the magic ingredient that we were trying to pull out. And again, I have such a different perspective because I was already in my 20s when I was seeing you kiddos. But the memories I have are, you know, of just dying laughing because it's so cute. Especially you two, who were, when I was there, you know, super young, and then I eventually left home. But these moments of me and Douglas, like being like, look at these guys, they're doing Dead or Alive. They don't, you know, they don't even know what, you know, front of stage, backstage is yet. They're just throwing those on you kids. And we said, go bump into each other, you know, put her there. And yeah, so that my memories all consist of, ironically, your successes more than say mine, because, you know, that was the goal. And I think, again, as a teacher representative, like there was a community of people who just really cared about your 3-ball juggling, Jack, you know, like, you know, or man, oh, they got on the rolling globe or the stilts or, you know, tumbling, whatever. It didn't really matter, to be honest. No one wanted y'all to be anything. We just wanted you to understand that you can learn to do something and then go, wow, well, if I can do this, then, you know, finishing high school should be kind of a breeze, you know, doing homework should be a breeze. Anyways, those are my memories, always consist of that.
A really funny and cool, and turns out to be a great overall story. It was with Jack. Actually, it was me, Jack, and my buddy Chris. And so everyone was like, okay, Paul was like, okay, what you guys should all do a Trapeze Act. And at that time, none of us, we all like to do juggling or like wheel, tumbling, everything that was on the ground, nothing in the air. So remember, they were like, okay, so you're gonna do trapeze. So we all looked at each other like, well, what do you mean trapeze? You know what I mean? So then, so it took like a couple of weeks. Actually, it took a very long time. We're very resilient. We really did not want to do trapeze. So we were just like sitting out during practices or pouting or sitting off to the side. And then eventually we were like, okay, like we're already here, so let's make the most of our time. And then we just started getting up on the trapeze, and then we ended up doing an entire act with the 3 of us all together, and that it ended up being in the spring circus that year, and it turned out to be great after hating it so much in the beginning, and then at the end turned out to like a really good polished act. That was a really, really funny and cool moment, just from start to finish. So that was cool.
Yeah, it's definitely a memory. I remember from that, like there was definitely a turning point, like you said, and we were all kind of like at first like feeding each other ways to like get out of it, and then at some point it switched, and we were all like collaborating and like pushing ourselves to be better and like giving and taking. Yeah, I remember being super proud of that act. Probably more proud than like any other act.
Oh man, you better be careful, because this year CircEsteem, we're going virtual with our spring show. And part of it is we're going to show clips from spring shows in the past. So I know someone just heard that. It's like, oh, I'm going to find the Trapeze Act from.
It's out there somewhere, I know.
Yeah. And I'll tell the audience more about our virtual spring show at the end. It's going to be June 12th. And I'll let you more. Since I, as a coach myself, most of the students you have, you're there for them in the moment, and then, they grow up, you never see them again. And every once in a while I'll cross paths and this and that. So since now I have 2 students and a former coach in the room, if you have, do any of you have questions for the other? Like, hey, what was it like being a coach? Or like, hey, what was it like, any cross questions?
I have a question for Paul, I guess, because you were there in like kind of the early days. And I know CircEsteem was kind of figuring itself out, which Prado and I may not have, definitely did not have the wherewithal to kind of understand the more the complexities of an organization finding its identity. I guess if you could speak to that, how you've seen it come along since.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question, Jack. Thank you. Yeah, there's like the organizational, not-for-profit work that goes into making an organization. There's a lot of hustle that like we're not asking, because y'all were like super young. Y'all were like even younger than the cutoff was supposed to be 8, but we made exceptions. So like, yeah. So then we were dealing with almost like a pre-kinder with you guys, you know, like a kindergarten, first grade. But then we also had to deal with, you know, some major puberty going on at the top end of that age range. And also it's like, you know, it's a group of crazy clowns, artists, acrobats, aerialists, you know, wire walkers. Anybody who was in town with a show would come in and help, and like Cirque du Soleil would send people and they do like a little workshop. But it was always, there's 2 parts to that question, in my opinion. How the organization grew and organized, that's a whole story, maybe for Dan Roberts to tell, because he was there for that, and the development of that, and the transitions of from board, you know, not for profit, and how the company grew. But from a teacher standpoint, talking to about the kids, it's like, you know, somebody stole something from somebody's mom, and now we got to like figure out who stole something from somebody's mom. But we all know that it's here in the building because it's only been 2 hours on a Saturday. So somebody's in trouble, and then we're dealing with, well, you know, I don't like this guy, and a bunch of puberty, if you will. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I just mean there's a bunch of teens going through this moment. And then on the other hand, you know, I'll embarrass Prado just for fun, but he'll be like, Pilo, can you take me, can I go to the bathroom? I'm like, oh. So we would have these like, these different engagements. And the beautiful part was everybody in that organization and students, you know, have these wild personalities, and it was less, almost like more social work to inspire than to be a professional circus artist. Again, I keep re-hitting that because some people have gone on to take that, you know, took it seriously on the skill set, on the art set, but really like it was just to see kids achieve something and smile. But trying to negotiate the older kiddos, which was actually kind of my favorite part, was dealing with these the Cornells and the Donalds. That was my because I ran the teen ensemble for a while, and then we would take everybody to gigs. So that, because I could connect with them and I could understand, I could relate to some of the struggles of that age range and that neighborhood, and living and trying to, you know, to negotiate it. So yeah, there was you guys were in the happy place. We were like it was the best thing when you got assigned clown instead of having to do like a weird act that I'm not good at. Because then I'd take all the little ones and I'd be like, okay, we're all going to be a big blob, and then we're going to throw a ball at each other. Like we would create something really cute, and that was sort of the dessert of CircEsteem for me, if that answers the question.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. Thank
Oh,
you.
that's awesome. Yeah, that's great. So hey, and then I really want to thank you all for taking the time to be here. We ask a lot of alum. And in fact, if there's alum watching, you know, get in touch with us. This is like a future project that CircEsteem has in mind, of like trying to form an alumni group of, you know, former students and coaches, and this and that. But so we had some alum who submitted some questions, even though they couldn't be here. And, you know, one of them was to Jack and Prado. Do you still train and perform circus? Is circus still a part of your life? And whoever wants to go first, or go at the same time.
I'll say it's not as much as I would like it to be, but I still, whenever I get a chance to, like, just throw that urge to like juggle, or like, oh, I'm gonna do a handstand right now, so I'll just do a handstand just because, for the fun of it. So I still try to like stay active when I can, but it's not as much as I want to. In terms of like having this entire space, or like, you know, I can't throw a club in my house because it's gonna hit the ceiling or, you know, knock down the light. So it's one of those things.
Yeah, it definitely gets more difficult
Mm-hmm.
after you I guess, don't have full access, easy access to a gym, or like a training facility or people to train with. But yeah, I definitely try to keep it a part of my life as much as possible, which, as Prado said, unfortunately is not as much as I would like.
Yeah, and then this is another question from a current student to Jack, and that was, what was the biggest challenge, would you think, to go from, you know, like CircEsteem to then like all the way to becoming a researcher, you know, doing scientific research? And
That's a good question. That's a really good question.
we have really good students, you know.
Yeah, no, I'm well aware. Yeah. It's a long time ago. I would say there hasn't been so much of a challenge. It's been a more natural flow and like progression from taking lessons and things, the insights I've been given through CircEsteem, and just kind of translating that into what I want to do on a daily basis post graduation. I mean, even my research now, even though it's very much focused on cancer research, it's still about how exercise and reducing stress can impact cancer metastasis. So it's kind of taking these overall lessons that I've learned, and that can be from the hard work and dedication and perseverance that I use in training a new trick, to these kind of overall observations of growing up in a social circus environment, and then just applying that to, in my case, the field of healthcare. But I guess the biggest challenge would probably be that not everyone takes circus as seriously as I wish they would. And definitely, I would argue, not as seriously as it deserves to be taken. So kind of overcoming some certain stigma that exist as far as circuses or clowns, and that they're not a cultivated art form, or not a, you know, just basically a joke. It's sometimes difficult to overcome those preconceived notions that people might have when you want to get a project done, or want to start a new project, or want to get funding, etc. But other than that, it's been an incredible ride.
That's great, thank you. So, and then the next question, this one is for you, Prado. In that, you know, so you went from doing circus to studying engineering, and is there a linkage there? Do you see a relationship between, you know, what you did in circus, to becoming an engineer? How do those two relate to each other, if at all?
Through my internship, I've been doing a lot of like reflecting, and it kind of brings me back to times at CircEsteem. CircEsteem is a place where you're around a lot of people, and there's the social aspect, there's the group aspect of it, and doing like group acts. But there's also the aspect of training and learning your own skills, building your own skills. And the relationship that I see with engineering is kind of just the fact that like what I know is what I know, and like there's something that no one can take from me. So whenever I wanted to like practice at CircEsteem, or like let's say I wanted to get a trick really bad that I've been working on forever, if I was the only way I was going to get that trick is just like keep practicing and keep working on it. And in engineering, there's a lot to learn. So there's like that aspect of there's a new challenge every day. It's not like in circus, like we learn, we're like taught to like practice makes perfect, or practice make permanent, but a lot of things can go wrong, and so you can never really prepare for anything. You just gotta be able to keep an open mind, and just prepare for the worst, prepare for the best, and just however it happens, take it from there. And just do your best. So yeah, there's definitely a little bit of a link, but engineering, there's just a lot. There's so many different types of engineerings, and there's what you can do with it. It's very mass. So I like that aspect of just a very high ceiling. And then like it was circus arts, just a very high ceiling. You can start from a beginner and then become intermediate, then be go on and do it professionally. And say with engineering, like there's different levels. So it's pretty good.
All right. I like it. Thank you, Prado. And then this is a question from another alum for you, Paul. And that is, around back in the day, whatever, 05, 06 or something in these parts, you were known primarily as a clown because that's what you taught, but you taught other things. And then, I knew you in the Midnight Circus where you were an acrobat. You did, tumbling, all sorts of stuff you could juggle. So, but, remember you as a clown. So they're like, wow, was it a challenge to go to Las Vegas to become a wire walker? And what was the challenge there? Like, did you have to change your act? Often in circus, I think young performers are sort of asked to specialize, not knowing that they may end up doing something in the circus that wasn't the first thing that they started doing in the circus. If you could speak to that.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great question. Thank you for the question. The beauty about being a clown is when if you ever work traditional circus or old school circus, you start to find out that old man in the back of the ring used to do a better one-arm handstand than anybody I've met in my life. They might have been, are they the first person to do a triple? And you're like, oh, who was I to think this guy, this old clown, and has a lifetime of experience. So part of the joy of it was I went on the road and I started looking around and thinking, oh man, I would make more money if I had more skill. So then being actually not that talented personally, in my own opinion, not a natural disposition towards tumbling or juggling or anything. I had to work really hard, but finding your path and, never feeling like I could create an act, but it always had to have a comedy end to it. I don't have to be the best. It's what we used to say at CircEsteem. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. And so having that mentality, I learned a lot of skills like freestanding ladder, and I was on the sports acro team. And that allowed me to that was complementary to the high wire. So when I got offered to work with the Walenda family, 30 feet in the air, the 7-man pyramid, the full deal high wire, I was actually more prepared for it than I had expected, and the progress through different acts gives you this mental edge where you start to respect yourself and understand yourself and understand how hard that goal is. So in answer to the question, when we came to Vegas, there was this wacky show called Absinthe that had a reputation for being more adult, more wacky, more burlesque. And so I was able to be part of an act where I continue to be a clown, hence the name Fat Frank. I was a little bit out of shape compared to my colleagues. So they were like, oh, you're fat. So I'll make the joke about everybody takes off their shirts, but I'm too big to do it. So it's funny. And at the end, I would also show some skin. I'm trying to keep this pretty family friendly, but the show's an adult show for sure. And the comedy comes in revealing that different than everybody in the entire cast, I do not have a six-pack. In fact, I look like a normal dude. And that's the clown, right? This average guy can be a high wire walker and be talented, different than just looking like Steve Atlas or whatnot. Is that a good answer?
Yeah, the every person. And
yeah, the every man. And that's the joy of it too, is, after shows when women would come up and they'd say, well, you look just like my husband. And I think you're the cutest in the show. This variations of that. And that's the clown, right? So even in high wire walking, I get to clown, and it's been a nice marriage of the two things that I want to do from this art, or get from this art.
That's great. Yeah, I want to keep moving because we're always up against the clock. And you just said it's not what you do, but how you do it. And of course, you and I have used that as a mantra a lot. And there was a question from one of our coaches, Hannah Fishkin, who you may remember, Paul, because you coached her at the Actors Gym, hand to hand, pitching, all this stuff. And she sings your praises up and down and was like, hey, what were some of the, mottos or mantras or tips that you might have for a younger coach? But I want to open it up too to Jack and Prado, because I know at CircEsteem we do have a lot of things like it's not what you do, but how you do it, or get along or get along. We have a lot of these sayings. So is there any saying like that that any of you or each of you remembers, something that stuck with you, like those little mantras? And go ahead, you can respond to Hannah too. We'll start with you, Paul.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Hannah.
young-
I do remember you, absolutely. You were great and fantastic, and I have super fond memories of working with the Actors Gym as a performer and a teacher, and sharing, being that generalist kind of coach, stretching everybody. Yeah, but to get to the phrases, it's like, I like to say it's 100 drops before you juggle 3 balls. It's 1,000 drops before you juggle 4. It might be 1,000,000 drops before you juggle 5, So yeah, dropping is actually the goal of juggling, so that so you never have to drop again. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's certain little phrases that we would use. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. But I'd like to hear from Jack and Prado, because I think they'd know more.
One of my favorite things was it's not a phrase, but I remember that on everybody's birthdays, we would always pie each other in the face, and that always lightened the mood and just kept it very fun. So I enjoyed that a lot. Just like, people would just start running around the room or trying to avoid it, or just like, sometimes they know it's coming, and they know that it's their birthday and it's a tradition, so they just have to take it. So they just sit there and just say, "Hey, pipe me." So it's pretty funny.
Yeah, there's just the innumerable small traditions that just existed, like the "Ooh, I feel so good," or I don't know, just it created a really awesome community. And they each had their individual kind of lesson to be learned and internalized.
I have one that just hit me. When I would run the stretching sessions in the beginning of class, and then you guys would start getting a little chatty. I don't know if you remember this. I'd say, "We're stretching our bodies, not our mouths." I'm very proud of that one.
All right. So just last thing real quick, this was also from an alum, and this is really for Jack and Prado. What advice would you have to someone, a youngster in CircEsteem, or, a high school senior or a high school junior? Now that, you've crossed that threshold, now that both of you are as old as Paul was when he coached you.
Wow, that puts things into perspective. I guess for kids on the younger side, I would say find what you love. There's something, I think one of my favorite things about circus in general is that you can always find your specific discipline that you love more than anything, or that you feel like something really clicks. As a coach, I know that's my favorite part about bringing in someone new, is they didn't like the gym wheel and they didn't like juggling, but they love the rollabola, and they are going to work like so hard on perfecting that. So it's just super fun to kind of see that and witness that. But that'd be my advice to younger kids, to older kids who are, I guess, about to graduate high school. I would say find a way to use the lessons that you've learned. Circus goes way beyond anything you would expect. Honestly, there are people combining circus with every last possible discipline, field, more than you could imagine. And it really is a kind of a interdisciplinary field, circuses, and it's an incredible tool in your belt. So don't be afraid to use it. Don't hide it. Flaunt it.
My advice for everyone would just try to be, like Jack said, if you see something that you like, go for it. Try to be as hands-on as possible. I feel like that's the best way to learn. And when you dive in completely and immerse yourself in the environment and whatever you're trying to do, then at that point you'll get the most out of it. So just try to be as hands-on as possible, and just don't be afraid to try and take that next step.
Awesome. All right. Well, speaking of finding things that you love, one of the things that I love the most is one of my colleagues, and I'm about to bring them out, and you all know him too. So friends and family of CircEsteem, please welcome Cornell Freeney. And part of the reason why I'm bringing Cornell out is because while I'm talking to all of you, I can't read all the questions that are being submitted. Cornell, come on out. Turn the video camera on. Cornell's a little shy. There we go. Look at that.
What's going on, people? Good to see you all. I mean, I can't see you all, anybody, but you all. Good to see the people in this webinar.
So this really is a homecoming in many, many ways too. And we did have one quick question from a Keme. We've had a lot of Kemes at CircEsteem. This one is Donald that was responding to this idea of sort of putting together an alumni group or association, and was curious if Jack or Prado, if either of you were already in touch or still in touch with some of your classmates from CircEsteem or some of your, you know, circus friends.
Yeah, I try to reach out when I can, and some of my other alumni try to reach out whenever we can, sometimes set up or just hang out. So yeah, we just try to, we still like to keep that relationship.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like it's also really nice because like we can go months, years, and I can still feel 1,000% comfortable just like shooting someone a text being like, hey, what's up? What's new? You want to hang? I'm in town.
All right, well, that's great. Well, hey, Cornell. So Cornell's been reading some of the questions in the chat, and I think he selected a few. Once again, for those of you, if you don't know, this is Coach Cornell, who went through CircEsteem, went to ISU, does wheel, performs at halftime shows, does corporate events, does acro, tumbles, and is now back working at CircEsteem. So Cornell, take it away.
Yeah, thank you for that intro, Douglas. I'm going to start with this question. It is for Prado and Jack. Someone from the audience wants to know if you all can share a funny or memorable moment performing with each other, performing or practicing with each other.
Oh man, there's so many.
There's a lot.
There's so many. There's like too many. I don't know. This is more like a vague memory, but I think the best moments from CircEsteem, and definitely like the best moments of getting to know like Prado and Cornell and like all the other people, is definitely from the like ICO trips. Like I remember going up to Pennsylvania, like we took like 11 days in a bus, just all of us. And it was just like, you know, the small things, the meals, the ways we'd entertain ourselves on the, you know, 8-hour bus ride. It was just like, not specific memories, but kind of that general feel was amazing.
Okay, and what you got, Prado?
Yeah, just performing and everything. It was just always like being out there, and then just having each other's back. Like no matter what happened, we dropped the club. That's okay. Don't worry about it. Just keep rolling, keep the act rolling, and then just styling, and then having everyone just support us and everything. So yeah, it was just fun times, and I wish I can go back, but I can't because I'm older now.
One other thing, I'm Prado, you just said you wish you can go back. One of the things that we've been doing for the past, I don't know how many years now, is every year at our annual CircEsteem Gala, we've been putting together an alumni app. So for you and Jack, I'm not sure when the next one is, but you'll start getting information when it's getting close to that time. And if you all are ever interested in coming back and performing at that gala, or, you know, there are some other alumni opportunities that we're interested in starting. So be on the lookout for those.
Sounds good.
And so Paul, Pilo, for you, a question that we have from the audience is, did CircEsteem help open doors to getting other gigs to you? And if so, how?
Absolutely. And just to be clear, my name is Paul Lopez, but my clown name at the time was Pilo, and that kind of was how the kids could relate to me. So I don't get to hear that name that often. It makes me really happy. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Paul Miller, the original founder. He was actually, we were closer in age at the time, gigging together. And so we would take workshops at CircEsteem. And so I was getting more skill sets, but then if I did get an opportunity to go on the road, that, you know, he'd say like, sure, go on the road and then you can come back. So for sure it helped my career with contacts, but also, every teacher that went through that program, I did 7 years with CircEsteem, and all those people are either still professional or not professional, but are influencing teaching. But that community actually is very much exactly what you guys are talking about, is like, there's alumni teachers too. And everybody has their story about the hardest day at CircEsteem, or the best day at CircEsteem, or teaching, Latin school, or these other programs that were in these private schools and public schools. So yeah, no, it's a huge chunk of my 20s. It's actually like all my 20s and all the circus around it. I could always come back to CircEsteem and teach and learn and then reinvest in others instead of just myself,
Okay, so I like the way you put that. This is, I think this might be a quick answer, but there's a question, and I might mispronounce this, but what are the rules of Schmick Smack via Zoom? I'm not sure that's for you.
I know that. I can answer that. We did Zip Zap Zop.
Mm-hmm.
I think Dan Roberts eventually can, if he wants to talk to it later. We had a Zip Zap, Schmick Schmack. There was all these different rules. So that's just a game that one of the teachers the kids were getting bored with Zip Zap Zoom, Zip Zap Bop. And so they were like, Schmick Schmack. So I don't remember this exact Schmick Schmack, but that's something that somebody desperate to keep these kiddos entertained was like, the next rule is Schmick Schmack. And that was, I think, when you crossed the circle.
Disco time, disco time, disco time. There's that one.
Nice. And Jack and Prado, I have some questions for you there, like coming to my head now, because I know as the, even to backtrack, Paul, hearing you say, oh, I was the one who was in charge of the teen ensemble. That's primarily my role now. And so I know I either have some who are listening now or who will listen to this later. But for Prado and Jack, you both went off to college, and one of you incorporated, started your own circus program there. And Prado, you went to a college that had circus there. Can you both talk to those experiences? Because some will go off to circus colleges, some they may not have it, but they have that desire. So if the two of you can speak to that.
Yeah, so I went to ISU. Shout out ISU Redbirds. Cornell went there as well. So, but yeah. So I was in the circus my freshman year. It was totally different from CircEsteem. It was a great experience. I learned a lot of tons of new skills. It was more putting me on a trajectory for a more professional route. It was like a lot more stricter schedules. There's late night practices. Some practices were like 4 or 5 hours long. And then at the end of the year, we formed a 3-night shows in the arena at the school. So thousands of people came and saw the shows. That was a great experience. But I also, from doing CircEsteem for like so long, like I already have a good enough skill set that I believe that I can always come back to circus whenever I wanted to. But I wanted to try, so at that moment of time in my life, I wanted to just try other things out, other organizations out, volunteer my time in doing other clubs, and and just experience college in that aspect as well. But I still everyone that I met through the program, I'm still in touch with them, and they're really supportive, and I still go attend all the shows. So yeah, it was a fun experience.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like going from what was CircEsteem, and especially the team program, which was like the highlight, I think, for me of CircEsteem. I could go on and on for days about that. But going from that and then to basically having to start completely anew was a little, like, I don't want to say difficult, but definitely a reset. And especially like scrolling through like Gamify's Instagram feed and being like, oh my God, they can do such cool stuff. Like I got nothing. It was kind of a motivator to start my own thing. But then my vision for how to start this new circus club versus what it actually became was very different. I mean, I started it my freshman year, and a bunch of the people who joined had actually some previous circus experience. So what I went about it, especially coming fresh from like circus teens, was like, oh, we got to make some shows. Like we'll do some really good performances, like high caliber. which was fun at first, definitely. Like, I liked the rehearsals, but eventually it just, there was a bit of like, it wasn't super sustainable given the academic pressure, versus over time, it just wasn't what we all wanted. And over time, like, there was definitely a identity finding moment where we realized we didn't want to have like a troupe of, you know, super tight performers. We really wanted to like bring in workshops, bring in coaches from outside, host like workshops for everyone, complete beginners over campus, and kind of bring in new people who had never tried to do circus at all. And at the end of my tenure at college, I was so proud of what the organization had become. It really was kind of a place to learn and grow and collaborate, which was nothing what I set out to do, but much more rewarding in the long run.
Okay, nice, thank you. And then Paul, what advice do you have? And I don't know how much time we have, but I will give you this last question. What advice do you have for young professionals who are in the position that you were in when you were at CircEsteem? So in the sense that they are learning their skills, crafting their skills, and maybe they want to take their skills to the next level and get more professional circus jobs.
Yeah, I think, again, you know, you and I were talking earlier today, setting up for this, and we talked about success is preparation meets timing meets preparation, opportunity meets preparation. So I think, you know, we're in this time where our friend Adam Kukler on a podcast said these words. He said, to any young artist who just dreams about being on a professional stage or a stage at all, you know, right now in this moment during this quarantine, we're all on the same level, just as much as the most professional, successful, whatever idea that is that you have in mind of your success. So this is a great opportunity to reinvent the circus the way, you know, the history of circus is reinvention. And, you know, again, I'm quoting my friend Adam, but, you know, Ringling might never come back. So that idea of circus might be gone. So I live in Vegas, you know, this is the conversation. Certain formats might be gone. This new webinar kind of, or this new Zoom idea might become prevalent. But here's the good news. Anything you do new and creative is gonna be the material of the future. So you might just be sitting there dying of boredom, but if you're working on your skill, you're dreaming of your dream, or maybe the opposite, maybe you're actively not pursuing circus because you're exhausted. The time to become a professional is coming forward. And if you just keep focused, like that's the only thing you got to do is be a pro and think of yourself as a pro and train like a pro and focus like a pro. And I think it comes for everybody. I think it's just sticking it out.
All right. Well, that's like the perfect end note to end on, unless any of the panelists have a final thought, because I really appreciate you taking the time to spend an hour here with us. So Prado, Jack, Paul, or Pilo.
I do just want to say, so proud of these boys. Y'all, it's amazing to see you as young men and to hear what you've been doing, especially outside of circus. It really impresses the heck out of me. So congratulations on being the men, better men than I thought you'd grow up to be.
Good to see you too, Pilo.
Yeah, it's great to see you.
Wow. Right. So if you'll just bear with me, I'm going to sign off. I just have a few quick announcements. So I mentioned the Spring Circus earlier, and this year, CircEsteem Spring Circus is going virtual. It's going to be June 12th at 5 p.m. CDT. Make a minimum donation of $10 to get the link. And join us in celebrating Chicago's youth. But in the meantime, we've got so much else going on. Here at CircEsteem, we have virtual programming. All our programs have gone virtual, digital, on Zoom. And any of our currently enrolled students, whether you're at after-school program in a school or this and that, we've got something for you. A week from tonight, we have our virtual variety showcase. This will be the second one where our youth will be performing on Zoom live. For you. And you can check that out. Let's see, registration link is available on the Facebook event page. So you can check that out. And then we have Circus in Place, which is our weekly digital classes. Mondays from 6:15 to 7:13. So that's a new session coming up. It's between 4 and 5 p.m., ages 6 to 10. And then from 5:15 to 6:15, we have ages 11 to 16. And it's taught by our professional circus artists live in your home via Zoom. And again, you can email registration at CircEsteem.org. And of course, all of these plugs that I'm spitting out real quick, it's all there at CircEsteem.org. Like us on Facebook if you can. Check us out, send us a note, tell us what you think of these programs. And then keep connected. This series of these webinars we call Behind the Big Top. And we'll be back with another edition. This is our third one, so I hope you can sort of see the theme. We started with 2 sort of circus legends, Sylvia Hernandez de Stasi and Liliana Walenda. Then we went with a founder of a big social circus, Circus Smirkus, Rob Merman. And then this week we brought it back to sort of former students and alums. So our next one in 2 weeks, which will be May 29th, we have 2 incredible Cirque du Soleil performers who are going to share their experiences about working in the professional world with that. So stay tuned. Once again, friends and family, thank you for being here. Stay connected. Here at CircEsteem during these times, we're here for you. Let us know what you need. We probably can't do it for you, but we can let you know who can. We're in that business right now with advising people, oh, you need this, go there. If you need this, go there. But we do have some things that we're passing out in ways that we can help you. We just want to stay in touch. We had so many students all over Chicago. Not all of them can be here with us online. So we're doing everything we can to reach out, stay in touch, stay safe. And as I always say, here at CircEsteem, we love you. Thank you and good night. And again, thank you to my panelists. I love you too. All right. So long. Down the road, everybody.
Down the road.